comments.
And Paul, if we could move up the tennis, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I've got that, John. We'll do that right after your report. You'll go right to the center.
Thank you.
All right, we've got background noise. Where is that coming from?
It's me. I'm just going to do the secretary's report and then I'll go on mute.
Okay.
I still don't see Lynn.
Got her.
There.
Sorry, YouTube's taking a moment here.
So Lucy, can you mute that? Well, there we go.
I think we're good on YouTube.
Okay.
It says it's on.
We're good?
We're good.
Let's call the meeting to order at 9:32. And do we have a quorum? Cezanne, why don't you take that over so you've got the screen in front of you?
Yes, everybody's present. You have a quorum.
Okay. We have members speaking.
You do. You have two members who requested to speak.
One being you have them in the queue.
Yep, Jim Bennett. I'm gonna admit him into the meeting, and then we will remove him after his speaking is complete. So I'll do that now.
Okay.
Mr. Bennett, if you can hear us, it's your time to speak. If you could unmute yourself.
Muted.
Mute. Okay, am I unmuted?
You're good.
Yes.
Okay. Technology is not my strong suit. Hi, I'm Jim Bennett. I'm going to speak for a proposal on the tennis committee. One of the tennis committee strategic plan items says we want to open the tennis to as many people as possible. And this is in the line, this line is in the strategic plan because we want all homeowners to have access to tennis courts similar to the pool, the pickleball courts, and bocce and workout facilities. To accomplish this, we voted on a plan to give limited access to tennis courts. We're talking about 2 tennis courts for all Sterling Oaks homeowners. To give you a little background on this, as of September 1st, there were 402 members in the Sterling Oaks Tennis Club. Only 93 of those members are residents of Sterling Oaks, which is 23%. We would like to see that grow. So our goal with this proposal is to open up the best amenity that we have to more people within the community and see if we can generate a higher number in that membership. So these are some of the things that we were thinking of that we would put into place. Initially, this is going to be for new members only, so it won't affect any of the existing members. 2 courts would be available for this program. Anyone wishing to take advantage of the program would become a member of the club, given the list of rules and regulations, so they know exactly what are the right things to do on the courts. Similar to the current Oaks membership, play would be available from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the afternoon and noon until 9 o'clock on weekends. These are non-prime time times, and the courts generally are available at that time. And courts would need to be reserved. So if the courts aren't available, they couldn't make reservations on it, but they would need to be reserved by confirming availability with the tennis office. There has been some talk about thrown about all the costs. There's not cost to this program because it doesn't affect any of the existing members. It's only a couple of courts, and it's for times when the courts are generally not in use. So in conclusion, this pilot program is being proposed so that as stated in our strategic plan, we'd like to open up the courts to resident homeowners who want to take advantage or full advantage of the amenities that we have here at Sterling Oaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Cezanne, let's move to the next speaker, please.
You're muted, Cezanne.
Sorry, I was removing Jim, learning how to do this as we go. The next speaker is Jill Sanders. I believe she was going to join via
I'm
Rick.
here.
Oh, you're
I'm
there.
here.
Sorry.
I'm here in
Andre.
Rick's window.
Okay.
So I just want to say thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak. I'm speaking to you both as a homeowner and a tennis member. And I want to express my request that the Board of Directors strongly consider voting no on both of the proposals from the Tennis Committee. But my primary reason, overarching reason for recommending this is that both of these proposals are bad business practices and bad business decisions for the tennis program. The rate increase, first of all, I've gone back through the minutes of the Tennis Committee meetings from July and August, and I don't see any specific data or recommendations given for why this increase of $400 is needed. And I know in the proposal that's been presented in the board packet for today that it's said that this will generate $120,000 for the budget. At a minimum, I think the board should request more detail. Exactly what is this $120,000 going to be providing? Is it more staff? Is it more administration? Is it more maintenance? All of the above. All of those things are valid reasons, but I think that it needs to be defined. You can't just pull a number out of thin air and say, we're going to raise rates at this amount. Secondly, I think that this should be shared equally by all members. This should not be rate increase only on non-resident tennis members. If there is needed money in the budget, it should be shared by all tennis members equally. And I, again, as a homeowner and a tennis member, I'm perfectly willing to have rates raised. We have not, as homeowners, had our tennis fees increased in the past 2 years, I believe. So it's time, and I understand that costs for everything are rising, and again, I'm totally in favor of a rate increase if that's what's needed for the tennis budget. I just don't think that $400 just for no reason at all and only on partial membership is valid. Then I think that the contingency that's included as part of this proposal, that this has to include in a reinstatement of amenities for all non-resident tennis members, including new members who would join the club in the future. That absolutely needs to be part of this. I think it's unfair to exclude them from those amenities. Also, I see in part of this proposal that there's a cap on non-resident tennis members of 325 people. I don't understand why this cap was there. I don't believe that the board has voted in agreement that there be a cap on non-resident tennis members. And again, if the whole purpose of this rate increase is to increase revenue, why would you cap membership? You want more revenue, you want more members. So again, bad business practices, bad business decisions. And then in regards to the Free Oaks membership as it's being proposed, again, just a bad business practice. There are no tennis clubs or country clubs or clubs of any sort anywhere that offer just freebies. Sure, come on in off the street and use our facilities for free. That just doesn't happen. Plus, homeowners already have the opportunity to pay a $10 per day fee to come and play tennis. And $10 per day, I think, is a very reasonable number. Again, going back to this being a bad business practice, there's a loss of revenue. There are members, the homeowner residents who are Oaks members now, and we would lose all of that revenue because why would they pay for something if they can get it for free? And contrary to what Mr. Bennett said, I would say that there is cost associated. You have 2 courts that you now have to maintain. You have staff time in order to train these people and teach them the rules and regulations and then administer the reservations. So there are costs involved. And again, if we're already going to be losing revenue because we're not going to have free Oaks member, or we're going to have no Oaks members paying anymore, you know, you're not balancing out the revenue situation. Finally, I just, again, as a homeowner here in Sterling Oaks and also as the chairman of the activities committee, I am all for including everybody and getting as many homeowners active in the community as possible. I cheerlead that every time I have an activities committee meeting. And I would love to see more homeowners come and play tennis. I think that's a wonderful, applaudable goal for the tennis committee to have. I just don't think that doing things for free is the way to go about it. I think if there are homeowners who wanted to play tennis now, certainly rates are very reasonable. And again, the $10 to play for a one-off time is very reasonable. I don't think that Free Oaks membership is the way that you're gonna make that happen. So that's my opinion. I wanted to present that, and I hope that the board will consider these things today before you vote. But at the very least, both of these items should be sent back to the tennis committee for reconsideration and redevelopment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, let's move to Secretary's report. And Lucy, if you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to put forward a motion to approve the minutes from August the 22nd, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, John Coyle seconds. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then a second motion to approve the minutes from September the 3rd, 2024.
Need a second?
Second.
Rick Sanders. Do any oppose this motion? Then the motion carries. Okay, let's move on to the president's report. I have no report, just a reminder as we move through this agenda today that we agreed to have 3 surveys developed, one being a community-wide survey, kind of a pulse to see how are we doing since the initiation of the original strategic plan. That was 3 years ago. How are we doing now? The other 2 are one for the fitness program, and secondly, just as a reminder, based on the people speaking today, we have a survey in development on the tennis program to be distributed to the members of the tennis program, a separate one for non-residents and a separate one for residents membership. That is in progress now, and there'll be more to come on these 2 things, but I do want to remind you that we have these surveys about to land. So with that, let's go to the general manager's report. And then we're going to do the treasurer's report and then move on to the tennis agenda item. We're going to take that out of order a bit to accommodate John Mulligan. So with that, let's hear from Mark.
All right, you've all got my report in front of you. Stallman Irrigation is in the final phase of their installation of their control wire system. The other items that they have to do that they've been kind of doing along the ways is making sure that the flow sensors or the hydrometers that are crucial to the certain areas within the neighborhoods. For instance, if there's a break in Manatee, then the flow sensor for Manatee will go off, so that it's easier to pinpoint where possible breaks are in the main lines or in laterals in people's yards, so that the landscape companies can go to fix it. Those reports would be able to be generated by somebody watching over the control system. and then be able to go in once those repairs have been made, make sure that the flow sensor has been reset, that the pumps are back on, and everything is moving correctly. But they are just about finished. They are waiting, of course, today. There is a motion on the agenda for the remote common area of Sanctuary Point, which we've done some work with them to lower the costs from the original amount of almost $18,000 down $6,000 lower to $12,000 to accommodate a remote Wi-Fi system that will be a part of the overall system as it should be. I have talked to Mike from Expert. He should be giving us his opinion and his understanding of what the gatekeeper of the overall system would be, or if they're interested, or how that's going to be managed. I've asked him to do that. You also received Russ Geiger's report, and you can tell that Russ Geiger in his report has also talked about that gatekeeper or water manager as well. So we'll wait to hear what we get back from Expert on that. The generator, of course, is on the agenda today. We have Naples Generator. You've got the quotes from them and from Marks Electric. Marks Electric was the original installer of the existing system, but that's because the electrical components to manage the when the power goes out, that the generator comes on and then it clicks over with that transfer station. And so that's why Marks Electric was involved in that. We went back to them just to see if they'd be interested in doing the generator alone. They gave us a quote, but you can see that it's higher than Naples Generator. Naples Generator will just come in and take out the old one. I can tell you the old one, we've had problems with it. We've had to put in new parts. It wasn't running 2 days ago. We had to do some repairs to get it up and running so that it would be ready for this hurricane, but it definitely needs to be replaced. The pool chiller. This is a discussion that you, as a board, probably need to decide whether or not you want to go down that road. We've checked with AquaCal. We don't have the room to be able to put in their pool chillers. We've gone to Glacial. We went and got a quote from Glacial for 150,000 gallon pool. That chiller is about $10,000, but it's the size of a recliner, and we have to find space for it behind the pump house, and then wire it into a 3-phase 240, which is going to require another panel, and then we have to do the piping so that we can bypass the heaters that are there to allow the cooler to work. So it's $10,000 from Glacial. And then we've got another, I'm going to guess somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to adequately prepare space, redo all the piping that's out behind the pump house, and apply and put in a new electrical panel to manage that 3-phase 240, which is a pretty good size element of the electrical system. So that's up for discussion and consideration. As you all probably know, MRI Underwater Services came in with their remote underwater camera. It looks like a little mini yellow submarine, and it's drivable by they have a little handheld remote, and it's got a camera on it. They put it down inside of the pipes in Wildcat because we had residents who were concerned down there that the pipes were blocked and they weren't draining water as fast as they should. We found out that the pipes were completely clear. We know that the system overall is working quite well. It's just hard to understand that when you get 3, 4, or 5 inches of rain in an afternoon, that the community of Sterling Oaks is actually kind of like a bathtub. It needs to hold the water and then let it go, because you can't affect the people downstream. And also, we don't want the people upstream of us to be able to have that ability to dump the water that they get onto us at all at once either. So everybody's got this same kind of design to hold water, then let it go at a specific rate that's determined by the Army Corps of Engineers and South Florida Water Management District. So that's why we do it. We've had the engineers from South Florida out. We've really done our homework. I can tell you that everybody is satisfied with how our system is working. We make sure that everything is clean and clear to manage that. So patience. Nobody, as far as I know, in the history of the community since 1994-5 has ever had water in their garage. They've had the water come up the driveway pretty far, but then it goes down within a day, and then it'll leave the property over the next week. The landscape committee, working with expert, if any of you, some of you have been down to the pool, but if you haven't, they've really done a great job. If you remember Chap, when he was on the board and he was the liaison to the committee, that he was always wanting to see the pool area looking a little better. I can tell you right now that it is a very nice design. We've got pots, there's plantings, rocks, everything looks really kind of sharp down there. It's a great improvement to that area. And also all the work along the condominium north, on the 41 side, that has been kind of another thorn in the condominium side. I know that Adrian Cormier has been asking for this for a number of years. All that irrigation has been redone and all new plantings put in along that whole course of the 41 border on the inside of the condos. So the landscape committee has done a pretty good job of taking care of some of those major issues that have been outstanding, and kudos to them. Lastly, and Cezanne has probably put this out and you've all seen it too, is that Fast Dry, we got a hold of Jeff and grabbed him and almost threw him to the ground to try to get some answers for the pickleball courts. And you've seen from Cezanne's report that they should be in here next week to get the pavement put down, which will immediately start the curing process. And if all goes well and we don't get any more storms of significant nature, we should have those pickleball courts up and running by the first part of January, if not Christmas. We are pushing him as much as we can to get those things done. And so that concludes my report. If there's any questions, let me know.
Okay, any questions of Mark? Okay, I'm gonna mute. I've got a call coming in.
Someone's got a TV on or something.
That's Paul Goodrow.
I just want to say thanks, Mark, for taking care of the underwater submarine for Manatee. I know it was a big issue from my community, so thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Manatee is their drainage system for Manatee is an oddly engineered system that does exactly that. It is it only has one outlet really, and all the drains in the street around the whole circle of Manatee go to one outlet that drains into the preserve. And that RCP pipe is built on an angle so that the streets are over here and then it goes up to here to flow out to the preserve. It's kind of an optical illusion if you ever go back there and take a look at it, but it's working well. It's just it's designed to move slowly, and it's a difficult concept for people who are a little scared about the water coming up their driveway. Can't blame them. So
I agree, Lucy. Thank you, Mark.
I don't know what happened to Paul. I think Mully, you're on for treasurer's report. Is that correct?
Yes, Okay. I'll get started, but before I get started with the report, I just want to talk about the budget and the reserve process. It's underway. We're working on it. We're a little bit behind for a couple of reasons, mainly because I was out of the country for a couple of weeks, but we're catching up and we'll be back on track. All right, as far as the treasury report, our operating cash is $844,000. Total cash is $2 million. In the month of August, we had net income of minus 13,000 versus a budget of 4,000 for an unfavorable variance of $17,000. Tennis is right on for the month and has a year-to-date favorable variance to budget of $12,000. A net income of $81,000. In August, the expenditures coming from reserves was 1,000, and year-to-date expenditures are $171,000. Social is pretty much on budget for the month also and has a year-to-date favorable variance of $22,000. Common areas had an unfavorable variance for the month of $2,000 and had a year-to-date favorable variance of $9,000. G&A has an unfavorable variance to the budget for the month of $22,000 and has a year-to-date unfavorable variance to the budget of $56,000. Although this department has several accounts that offset each other with pluses and minuses, once again, the main driver of this unfavorable balance is lower than budgeted home sales. That account is $46,000 under budget. The year-to-date net income as of 8/31 is $21,000 versus a budget of $49,000 for an unfavorable variance of $28,000. Any questions?
For everybody's, if you go back in time and look at financials over the years, the summer months are the worst months. And of course, when everybody's here and we've got lots of revenue and things are moving quite well in the springtime, we look great. And then we fall off as there's no business in the summer, and they also do a lot of work and a lot of things that require the expenses. One thing, just this is my comment as general manager, working with the other communities in the area, the capital contribution fee, which we currently have at $4,000 and $4,500, is very low comparatively to what's happening out there in the world. A lot of the strategic benchmarking that's being done through the other communities is taking a look at what capital funds can be generated by that contribution fee. And I can just tell you that there are many of the bundled communities, and yes, they do have golf, but there's a lot of the communities in the area that are taking those fees and radically taking them up to a much higher level than they have been in the past. Everybody was at the $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 range for a number of years, but because of club benchmarking and the way things are going to manage some of the expenses and to provide capital for improved amenities or necessary stuff that has not that maybe the community itself is either a little reticent to provide. Nobody likes assessments, of course. These capital contributions have risen, and we're seeing now capital contribution fees in the $10,000 to $12,000 to $15,000 on the homes. And this, of course, when you have 40 homes that go up for sale and you have a $10,000 fee, that kind of generated income moving towards capital is significant in nature. And you'll probably hear more about that as time goes by, and maybe even from our auditors when they speak at the annual meeting. I just want to let you know that that's something that would not affect you because you're not the new homeowner. But some of these new homes that are going up for sale, as you know, in Deer Creek and Preserve and some of the others, I know that they were at X, and then now they're going for well over 750 to 800 to $1 million a pop, and that kind of money that's out there from somebody. If they're looking at other communities, they're going to see that the capital fees are established in those communities as well, and we're just not there yet. But that's just my 2 cents, and I'll relinquish my diatribe.
Okay, John.
Yes.
we have an unfavorable balance lower than budgeted in home sales. It accounts for 46,000 under budget. Tell me about that. Are we going to make that up? How concerned should we be about that?
We probably will not make that up. I mean, year after year, we come in with an estimate how many home sales we think we will have. You know, as you know, I think it was 3 years ago, we had a record number. We had over $200,000 excess in home sales. That's why we were able to give that cash back. The next couple of years, we've lowered it. And this year is just lower than we expected. And we will take a hit to the bottom line, but it's just one of the many lines in our budget that will, you know, offset. So in total, we're only $28,000 under budget. That's 46,000 under. So we have other lines that are over. So it's just part of the budget process. And when we go into next year's budget, we're lowering it a little bit also because, you know, we don't want to overstate what we think we're going to get.
Right. Okay. Very good. Any other questions of John? If not, let's go to,
But I have to make one motion for delinquent accounts.
right.
Okay, I'll make a motion to suspend the following members as described in the Sterling Oaks collection policy and refer to the account to our attorney to pursue all legal remedies available, if not current, by October 1st, 2024. S0063 in Sanctuary Point, D0065 in Wildcat Cove.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Right. Seconds. Do we have any discussion? Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none. Motion carries. Okay, let's move now to the tennis items. It would be E under 9. And I will ask Steve Mara to introduce each one of these with a motion.
Okay, Paul, the first motion is for the board, we're requesting the board to approve our strategic plan. As you can see in your packet, there's 4 or 5 bullets there, very kind of generic, talking about assisting the tennis pro to achieve optimum number of members, to promote growth, prosperity, and development of the Sterling Oaks Tennis Club, to create an atmosphere where tennis and all skill levels can meet other people and make new friends. And then that next bullet's about social aspects of tennis and to be ambassadors of the game. I want to thank Mark for helping out with this document. And you remember we had 2 documents, but Mark helped in melding them into one. So I make a motion that we accept the tennis committee's.
I'm having trouble understanding you, Steve. You were garbled earlier. It's still kind of garbled. Are you near your mic or what?
Yeah, I'm here closer. I recommend that we approve the tennis committee strategic plan as outlined in your packet.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Lucy has a second. Any discussion regarding the plan? We've all, I think, had a chance to look at it. It looks pretty straightforward to me. And any comments, any discussion? If not, I'll ask those in favor of the accepting the plan signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Steve, you're on again.
The second proposal is from the tennis committee is on the Oaks membership. The tennis committee voted on recommending to the board a limited trial for the free Oaks membership for the months of November and December. Residents wishing to join the club on a trial basis would have to go through an orientation, sign a waiver, and work through the tennis office to reserve a quarter. The motion passed 4-1, and Paul Barris was not in favor of the program. So that's my motion. The Oaks membership.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Ken Swallen?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion.
Paul, yes.
Rick,
I'm curious why this is up for a vote again. Didn't we vote on this a few months ago and rejected it?
yes.
I believe we did. Why are we
Yes.
bringing it up now and wasting everybody's time?
Because it was brought up by the tennis committee, and it's a different tennis committee than it was last year. Remember, it was brought up last year by the tennis committee, and then it was brought up again by the tennis committee.
And it's a different
What-
proposal also.
And it's also a watered down proposal. It's only for 2 courts for 2 months. It's very much a trial. The last one was gonna be a permanent, and it was very much, this one is way watered down from the one.
Yeah, I don't see, I understand that from Mr. Bennett's proposal, but I don't see that on the motion here. That's all new. I'm reacting to it just as it's on the sheet of paper that I see here. It says nothing about the 2 courts and anything that he mentioned too, so. I'm not in favor of it. I think it's a bad idea. It was presented as free. It's anything but free. If I offered everybody in the community a hamburger, what would they say? Would they say no? I had all this feedback about, oh yeah, we like it, but it's not free. There's plenty of other costs involved with it. It's not a good idea. And why are we
Why
litigating
do you
it?
say it's free? Why do you use the term it's free?
Because the person the architect of it, and who happened to did his mass mailing to every resident in the community, it said free tennis membership. Free.
But if homeowners are we're using their reserves for tennis, then it's really not free. They're already paying it.
Their HOA fees would be higher if we weren't getting profit back from the tennis community.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Mark, what was,
I need to make a motion to only 2 courts. I think that's the only part that I left out. I would amend the motion that it's only for 2 courts.
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you, Mr. Mara, because you are in and out. It might be the way your phone's
I
angled.
can't
off.
understand the word that Steve's saying. It's all
Let me
garbage.
move my phone. Okay, I would just amend the motion and add that it's only for the use of 2 courts. I left that out of the motion.
Browning?
Okay, I assume we're talking, there's 3 motions. I assume we're talking about the motion of raising $400 for the.
No,
right?
no.
No,
What?
we're talking about the Oaks membership, not the fees.
Well, did we do anything on the fee?
That's next.
Yeah, I think these are a
They're
little out of
different.
order. That's the only
They're
confusion.
ordered differently in the package, so that's why I was
Yeah,
confused.
it was number 3.
Okay. Okay, I'm against the Oaks things for the same reason we went through it a few months ago and all very much against it. There are some costs associated in management. And again, members can play for $10, which is pretty cheap. So I'm one that if things are working, I think our tennis program works fine. We don't have.
More points here, if I may.
And Rick?
May I? Administration of it, the proposal indicated that you would train everybody to assume to use the Chelsea system, which at best, we can't even expect half of our current members to understand how to navigate it. So we're gonna train 700 doors to use that. If not, it's sort of a free-for-all that, okay, we throw it back on the limited tennis staff we have to input all this information. Secondly, I just counted the number of league teams that we have here. There are 8 teams that the middle of October will be playing. And even though now we have a facility to do 1:30 starts rather than 2 o'clock, last year we had matches that went 2.5, 3 hours that would go into the 4:30, 5 o'clock range. Then you're approaching nighttime. You've got issues with getting keys, and no one's thought about any of that stuff. So there's much more work attendant involved in this thing. So it's easy to throw all this stuff out here and say, oh yeah, it's great. Everybody has access to the court. You're gonna have people just wandering on there. Are you gonna have additional staff at those later hours to help doing it? maybe, I don't know. If that's where the $400 is coming from. And that's another issue. But no one's thought of these things. It's easy to say, here, yeah, we'll just throw it all on the existing staff.
So, Mark, Paul Barris is our paid employee to run an entire program. He's run the program for 12 years and it's been successful. What are his comments about this proposal?
I think I sent the board his letter to you and me about his opinion on the free trial membership for the Oaks. He had some ideas on the second paragraph of his letter that spoke to open houses Sunday afternoons to encourage the resident homeowners to be able to come out and play tennis. So he is, I think, willing and able to manage the I guess the idea of having the residents be able to utilize the tennis program on a trial basis, but probably under the management and auspices of his administration so that he can better understand what's going to happen. So he's the manager. He has done a good job over the years. I find myself as a manager, been in the business for many, many years. I can only tell you that the more things stay the same, the more they need to change. So some of these ideas that have been coming from the tennis committee, probably, Paul's been reluctant to really move quickly on some of them. I think that he does need to try and understand that the tennis committee in its endeavors are trying to encourage Sterling Oaks to be more of a tennis community than it is currently. It was in the past, and I think that anything that we can do to encourage more use of the amenities within the community to bring everybody together is a good thing. So my feeling is that if Paul does have good ideas about how to implement complementary tennis to get residents that currently aren't playing involved in the programs, then kudos to them. So that's what I saw in his letter that you have all received as well.
Paul?
Steve.
Yeah, I would like to say, well, the Sunday thing does sound like a good idea, but this is the first we've heard of it. This never came up at the committee meeting. And well, again, I think it's a step in the right direction. Maybe we could try that after this 2-month trial period and see what works. And also just a couple of am I still on?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Okay. I just like a couple of bullets of this issue was approved by the last year's tennis committee and this year's tennis committee, all of which are homeowners and tennis members, and they feel it's a good thing. My Wildcat residents are definitely for it, and that's how I vote. I vote what my constituency wants me to do. And I would say free. I don't really like the word free because we all know that homeowners we're using reserves from Sterling Oaks for tennis. So the word free is not accurate in my opinion. I say you can throw up all the red flags you want, give it a try for a couple months. Let's see what happens. And we can always evaluate it at the end and give it a shot. Thank you.
Okay, Lynn, go ahead.
Prior to me saying what I want to say, could Mark please read the letter from Paul?
We've all read it. Come on now. We don't need to read the whole darn letter again.
Because I'm not at my desk.
Aren't we on YouTube?
Yeah.
Aren't the residents listening to this?
I just don't have, I have to, let's see if I can find it because I'm at my house. I'm not at my desk. So I'm not remoting in. So I'd have to remote in to get to my files. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
If you
My,
can't find it, the statement will be included in the minutes that will be available on the website.
I read the letter. I didn't quite agree with Mark's interpretation. To be clear, I thought Paul was definitely against giving the free Oaks. He had some ideas where he had to have sessions to have people come
Yes.
play tennis under supervision to kind of promote it. But I think my recollection in the letter, he was pretty much against the completely open Oaks for everybody. So I want to kind
He
of
is.
clarify, that's what I remember in the letter.
I have the letter in front of me, but it is very lengthy. Paul Goodrow, do you want me to read the letter?
I think Lynn has a good point. We're on YouTube. We have read it, but this is a public meeting. So let's have all the information available.
All right, I'll do this as well as I can. It says, hello, Mark. The Free Oaks proposal, in quotes, will create a myriad of issues with little benefit. There are far better alternatives to this proposal. The proposal is presented as free. However, there are many costs that will be incurred if the proposal is enacted. There are also many known and unknown issues that will need to be solved to implement a proposal of this magnitude. Additional staffing will be needed to implement and administer the proposal. Pro Shop staff will be hard-pressed to service paying members while adding an enormous amount of new free members. The hours of the Pro Shop will need to be lengthened. Additional maintenance hours will be needed to maintain the courts to try and preserve their current condition. Income will be lost as current Oaks paying members will automatically have a free membership. Some current Sterling paying members are likely to drop their membership to take advantage of a free membership. Use of the lights will increase electricity costs. Homeowners that are not tennis members and their guests can currently use the tennis facilities for a $10 fee per day. Many take advantage of this opportunity, particularly during season when extended families are visiting. This income will also be lost if the proposal is adopted. The adoption of this proposal will negatively impact non-resident membership income as well. Many non-resident members have voiced their concerns to me that opening up the courts to an entire community will make it more difficult for them to get court time and diminish the conditions of the courts. This could possibly cause them to drop their memberships, especially as their dues are being increased simultaneously. The purpose of the proposal, according to the tennis committee, is to encourage non-tennis member homeowners to become involved in the tennis program and ultimately become paying members. I seriously doubt that if residents receive a free membership, that they would opt to purchase a paid membership. The opposite effect is way more likely, where residents that are currently paying members would drop their membership to have a free one, thereby reducing tennis income. There are better alternatives to attempt to achieve the goal of encouraging non-tennis member residents to become involved in tennis without creating a negative financial, staffing, maintenance, and membership impact. The amount of interest non-tennis member homeowners have in tennis is debatable. Alternative options with much less risk to the current state of the program should be considered. One example would be a one-day-month homeowner day where residents would have access to the courts. I would suggest the first Sunday of each month from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Residents would have the ability to try playing and enjoy use of the tennis facilities without all the complications of the free tennis proposal. Without all the complications the free tennis proposal presents. Another option could be a tennis open house event for homeowners that would introduce them to the game and facilities. This event would help quantify if there's a significant amount of homeowners interested in becoming involved in tennis. As the director of tennis, I see no necessity to offer free tennis due to its negative fiscal impact to the tennis program, its negative effect to current members, the difficulty in its implementation, and the ability to achieve the same goal without creating all the negative impacts previously stated. Thank you.
Okay, Lynn.
Okay, so I would like to make a comment here. I found it interesting that because we have only 95 resident members, that we are willing to give a complimentary free Oak membership for a while to get members. Well, right after that, Mark said that food service and drinks are low at the cabana. So I say, let's give free food. I mean, you can make an analogy for anything to try to figure out, but when you say free, that's not going to help fiscally. Tennis clubs and golf clubs have different levels of membership. In order to attend dining, club parties, events, the big main pool, the fitness, and pickleball, one needs a high level of membership, running from $2,000 to $20,000 a year per resident. That's for the owners to go, not outside owners to go. Small and medium, and even some of the larger clubs like the Vineyards, open all their club up to the golf, the dining. You can get different levels of membership for outside members. We are so lucky here to have inherited the use of the pool, the dining venue, and the club events, bocce, pickleball. The tennis was and never should be free. I just got back from Europe. Everybody's raging over there about paddleball, not pickleball, paddleball. The creation of Sterling Oaks was to get a membership of people who play, new members looking to improve, and provide all levels of play for tennis players. Why anyone would want to change that and make it a club where people are going out and just hitting once a year or twice a year when the family all rolls in, and to destroy a program, as far as I'm concerned, that is an amenity that is well known in Sterling Oaks, about Sterling Oaks in Southwest Florida. And especially if you're involved in our finances. And I cannot believe the finance committee would actually not see how this would hurt us financially. And why is it only open to new members? Why can't people who already pay for a membership and don't play much, why can't they just get this free Oaks? I know a lot of people who do not play very much here, outside members and inside. Why isn't it free to them too? We paid for years and years and years. My husband hasn't played all summer, and he plays once a year during season. So, you know what? He could save a lot of money every year. Every listing on the MLS emphasizes the tennis program, the pro, the level of play at the Sterling Oaks Tennis Club. It is renowned in Southwest Florida. And I just can't believe that you would just willy-nilly toss it open like that. Now, I think Paul had a good idea. I agree too. I agree that things have to change. I hate it, but I agree. But why not go with your director? Why not listen to him? He's the authority. Tennis committees change, you know. Activities committees change. The way people think changes. But right now, you've got a tennis committee that's going along this line, and that's fine. But why not try something that's controlled, handled by pros, not just open up like this? If it sounds easy, it's not good. That's how I feel.
Paul, can I respond?
Yes, I can't see who is requesting.
Steve.
Steve, go ahead.
Just a few points of clarification. Chelsea was not ever, they're not going to have access. They would never have access to Chelsea. they would have to go into the office and sign up for a court only when it's available. If there's tournaments, if there's anything going on, not one member will ever be said, "Oh, you can't get on that court because an Oaks member's on." It's only an empty court that would have gone empty. No one will ever go without, a member will never be thrown off the court and not be allowed to sign up for a
Can't
court.
hear him.
Again, I can't understand the word. I don't know what's wrong with your mic.
All right,
I
let me
can
get.
hear
let me get
everybody
closer.
else, but I
All
can't
right, the
understand
Chelsea
the
part
word
is that
Steve's
they,
saying.
can you hear me now?
That's better.
Not hearing, it's understanding. I can hear, but it's
That's
all
better.
garbled.
Yeah, it's better, Steve. Go ahead.
That's
good.
better, yeah.
Chelsea is not part of it. They would have to go into the club and sign up through the office only when courts are available. No members will ever be denied a court because an Oaks member's on it. It's the other way around. It's only an empty court. A couple other things. They are the homeowners, they are the owners, and they do pay with their reserves. So saying no to them is not just nilly-dilly. They are our owners. They are our residents. And I would also ask that there are details that if and when it goes through, and that Mark be part of that implementation. I would guess that he normally would, but I would just like to say that I would hope that Mark would be part of the implementation. Thank you.
Paul?
Okay, John.
Yeah, I read Paul's opinion as well as heard Jill Sanders' statement. I respect their opinion, but do not agree with it. I don't think the sky will fall as Paul always thinks it will. Okay. First of all, we're not just having people come in from the outside, as Jill said. These are Sterling Oaks members who own the courts. Okay. This is on a trial basis on a couple of courts. This shouldn't have any impact on non-resident tennis players or even resident tennis players to get court time. They could go on Chelsea and reserve the courts before these residents who want to use the courts after 3 o'clock when pretty much no one else is. Okay. And if we have to hire additional staff to administer this, I think we have a different problem. Okay. As I mentioned, this is on a trial basis and only on a couple of courts. So if the sky does fall, as Paul Burris predicts, and has a wear and tear and damages, we all will be able to see that and evaluate it. If non-resident tennis players are not getting court time, which I don't understand how it could happen, we can adjust. Nobody knows for sure but I personally don't think too many residents will take advantage of this. There's a reason why the courts are pretty much open during this time, but they can. That's the most important part. They're residents and they can do it. They can use their own courts without a fee, although just during limited hours. Just like all the other amenities. Yeah, just like all the other amenities. And if it takes off, then that means the community really wants it, and then we adapt. Some say that we shouldn't mess with tennis because it's doing so great. Okay, that's not a good philosophy to take. If we did that, we wouldn't have added pergolas to the bocce ball court or added all the cabana stuff to the pool. I mean, that's just a silly statement. Okay. I just want to remind everyone that this is a community first that happens to have a very good tennis program. It's not a very good tennis program that happens to have a community around it. Unfortunately, sometimes I believe that certain people think the latter. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Well,
Lynn?
Lucy had her hand up for a while.
Well, okay, let me go to Lucy and then Linda. Are you muted, Lucy?
Muted,
You're muted, Lucy.
muted.
You muted, Lucy.
All right, let's go to Linda.
Sorry,
and-
okay, I'm ready. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, I agree with what John's statements were in terms of we should open it up and in terms of what the homeowner should have access to. I don't think there's any harm in doing both. What was presented in terms of the motion from the tennis committee, but also, you know, in parallel, you know, Paul can certainly go ahead and have some open houses and let's see what fares. I don't know how to play tennis. I think I would benefit from going to an open house and seeing what's available. I would be intrigued by learning how to play tennis, and having a facilitator to do that would be a great idea. There are some people who know how to play tennis but don't want to do it year round. let them come and see what the community is all about, and let them try the trial period. I think doing both is potentially a good idea. That way we have a couple of different ideas to move forward from in terms of the learnings from those experiences. Thank you.
Okay, Lynn?
Just to clarify a little bit, we are the Sterling Oaks Community Association and the Sterling Oaks Tennis Club. We were formed that way as the club and as the community.
Okay, any other discussion?
Paul,
Cezanne, help me. I can't see everyone.
Paul, it's John.
John, go
Coyle.
ahead. John Coyle, go ahead.
I have many more questions today than I had yesterday. I read Paul Burris's letter. I talked to John Mulligan. I listened to Jill Sanders. I listened to Steve. I've spoken to Steve. I have so many more questions, and the word many keeps popping up. How many people will use this opportunity? We don't know. How many members will give up their memberships and because they're community members? So for Lindia, my question now is this an amenity or is it our business? Lindia?
Well, it was always an amenity that a resident could have automatic membership to if they paid a fee. In other words, no resident can be turned down to the tennis club if they pay the fee. And that's the way it was formed. We bought here in 1998 and we paid a fee to play tennis. And that was the way it was formed. And it's continued that way. In the docs, it says that additional outside members will be taken on to help balance the budget. So all that was clearly taken care of. And I actually have the original, the way it was written.
Okay, so let me continue my many questions. Many people using John Mulligan and I talked about this. We don't think we're talking about many people, but I'm a numbers guy. So how many is many? Steve Mara, how many people at Wildcat are proponents of this? How many, you don't have to answer yet. How many of our tennis members are saying anything? Paul Burris says many tennis members say. How many? What's the number? Is it 5 or is it 400? Brownie, there's a question. How many is many? So everything that's going on, we keep using the word many, but there's no number attached to it. What are we talking about here? I like to know.
John, the comment I was about to make is that, you know, I applaud the tennis committee, their advisory. I think they're doing a good job and they want to benefit the tennis program, and I applaud that. My feeling is this is a little premature. As I started the meeting today, I wanted to remind everyone that we have a full-blown survey about to land with all members of the tennis program. It seems to me I'd like to hear from them. When you ask how many, I think the survey will begin to suggest the numbers that are out there, if in fact this question is on the survey, and it will be, unless something happens today that forces us to take it off. But in my mind's eye, this is a little premature. If we're going to survey the entire membership, both non-residents and residents, let's hear from them. You know, that would give us the most objectivity, it would seem to me. Right now, this is all speculation. One side says, it's not going to hurt, don't worry about it, let's try it, see what happens. The other side is saying, this will devastate the program. It will be the first step toward a decline in the program. Why are we taking that gamble? And we've got a tennis director that we've hired to do this and to make these judgments. And again, I applaud the tennis committee for saying, how about this? But the tennis director has not really recommended this. In his judgment, it's his program as I see it, and the tennis committee is advisory. So in my opinion, this is a little premature until the members actually tell us how they feel. Then we'll know how many. But right now we don't. And your questions are good, John, because it's all up in the air.
Yep.
But this is Ken Swallen. We're only doing this for 2 months. Why wouldn't we try it in 2 months? That's just my opinion.
Well, it's a little bit like driving a car, and let's not use our hands on the steering wheel for 5 minutes. See what happens.
I disagree with your analogy, Paul.
It might be a little exaggerated.
That's real exaggerated.
And
I've got to
Paul,
go into a doctor's appointment right now, so I vote for this.
and Paul, you
John.
kept saying, that Paul Barris is our expert, and he runs a great program, but anytime we want to make changes like this, or we want to increase fees in the past, he doesn't ever want to do that. So we can't just go by his opinion. He goes, oh, we're going to lose all these members. We do this, we do this. We've increased members all the time. So we can't just go
John,
by Paul's opinion on everything like that.
That's why we're doing the survey. And let's have the members tell us what direction we should go. That's why one of the main reasons we're doing the survey, to take a pulse of the program itself. Are we going in the right direction? Do we need to change directions? That's the whole purpose of the pulse survey.
I think we got to take the vote. The motion was made.
Do we have any other discussion? Okay, with that, I need a show of hands, and Cezanne, you take a poll because I can't see it on this monitor.
Okay.
So all in favor of the motion signify by raising your
Can we
hand.
clarify exactly what the motion is? Also, there's so many things we've discussed. Could we clarify before we vote what the motion is?
All right,
The
Cezanne,
motion is outlined in your packet to offer a limited trial for a free Oaks membership for the months of November and December. Residents wishing to join the club on a trial basis would have to go through an orientation, sign a waiver, and work through the tennis office to reserve a court. And then Steve added that this would be limited to only 2 courts.
And
I just before we go to the vote, I have one question. Who's going to do this orientation? And what does it entail? Does anybody know? Steve Mara.
I think the details, again, like I said, would be working through Mark, and hopefully we can get the office to do that, but I'm not really sure the answer to that. That's kind of why it's a trial period. If it becomes an issue and there's too many people in the office, then obviously it won't be continued.
I don't think that the office, administrative office, Laura, in the office, Nicole and myself and Cezanne, are going to be able to orientate individual members for the tennis facility program and use. I think that would have to be done through the existing pro shop staff, because they're the ones that would have to sit there and kind of, A, what courts are you using? B, what kind of shoes you're wearing? C, do you have a racket? I think that those questions would have to run through and be managed by the existing staff in there, which is Patrice and currently George. There's only one of them at a time in there because they work in the 7 days that they're open. So I think that's the assistance that would be needed if that's the case. Those people would have to manage that. I mean, we're here to help, but I can tell you, Laura would probably her forte is in a different world from an administrative standpoint than the tennis pro shop office.
Yeah, I read that motion. It doesn't tell me when these residents can use it, what time they can use it. Is there going to be someone in the pro shop to minister it? In other words, the way this reads, they could come in at 8 o'clock or 9:30 and play. This doesn't have anything about limits on times or days or anything else.
And Oaks membership has those limits.
I mean, I heard all things about time and all of that. There's none of that in the motion. This is a wide open motion.
Paul, Oaks membership itself limits all that. It would be an Oaks membership. That limits them to 3 and on. It doesn't have to be in the motion.
Okay, any other discussion? Let's go to a vote
Yeah.
on this.
I gotta
Yeah.
ask a question.
Go
It
ahead.
says 3 and on. What day?
An Oaks membership, you can use the facilities or the tennis courts after 3 p.m. Monday through Friday and after noon on the weekends.
One question. If I were an Oaks member, are we gonna then quit charging our Oaks members for November and December? In other words, we need, the Oaks members we have shouldn't be paying if everybody else doesn't pay. So we're gonna lose that income for November and December. I don't see where we can let other people play for nothing and have our Oaks members. And again, we're basically gonna lose all the Oaks members. But specifically for November and December, we're gonna charge the people and then let everybody else play free.
My understanding that existing Oaks memberships would not receive any discount. This is strictly
Wow.
for new individuals for a trial basis, and then there would be no discount or anything given to the existing free to the existing membership.
And
That's
kiss
my
But if
that
somebody
goodbye.
wanted to cancel their membership upon renewal, say in October, could they then utilize the courts for free in November and December?
They can't
Uh,
cancel
I
it except on
don't-
the anniversary date.
That's a good, those are questions. I don't see that should be allowed, but that's one of the permutations.
All right,
And you should-
let's go to a vote on this. Unless someone has a burning question, I think we've burned out the issue at hand. So I think lines are drawn. Let's take a vote. So, Cezanne, help me with this. All those in favor of this motion signify by raising your hand. And Cezanne, do a roll call.
On the screen, I have Mara Mulligan and Coyle.
Okay, those who are opposed signify by raising your hand.
I have Brownie, Lucy, Rick, Goodrow, and Snyder. Motion fails.
Motion fails. Okay, let's go to the next item, which is non-resident membership rates. Steve Mara.
Again, from the tennis committee, they're talking about, you can, in your packet, adjusting the rates to, they want to give amenities to 325 non-resident members. They wanted to cap it as it is right now. All new members have no amenities. It's just tennis. And they're also talking about raising the fees to $400 a month. $400 a year for all outside members. And again, this is from the tennis committee, and I think the board needs to discuss this because I think there's some things we need to talk about.
One question, Steve.
So you want to withdraw the motion? What are you saying, Steve?
I'll probably end up editing it is what I'm thinking, Paul. I think I'm going to end up editing it, but let's let people comment.
I'm sorry, I cannot understand for the record of the minutes.
We're going
Steve, speak into the mic.
the written proposal in your packet, and we're going to discuss it now, and then I'll, depending on the discussion, I can edit the motion if I need to. But it's for
Is the-
the $400 a year increase to the membership and adding back some amenities for 325 non-resident members.
It's $400 for non-resident members only.
Yes, that's what the proposal is.
So you're
Okay.
making a motion to reduce the cap for non-resident members to 325, reinstate the
25 members
amenities
would be
and
entitled
increase
to
to
amenities.
400?
Say that again?
Are you making a motion to reduce the non-resident member cap from 350 to 325? reinstate the amenities to the non-resident members and then increase by $400.
Except the 350 is not being changed. It's just 325 with amenities.
We currently have a cap at 350, so you would be recommending to change it to 325.
So the cap at 325 is for membership, correct? Or 350?
Right now, we have a cap for non-resident members at 350.
That would stay, but 325 of them would be entitled to amenities according to this request.
Can I ask a question of, if we have, and I'm not quite sure of this, let's just say we have 342 non-resident members. And of those, 20 currently have no amenity usage because they joined after the board motion in June last year. Do you take the number from 320 some odd and include 2 or 3 or 4 of those on the list as they according to their entrance date? So in other words, if they joined in July after the cap, but they were one of the first ones that didn't receive any amenities, would they drop down into the amenity usage program? Is that?
I believe, yes, yes. So more of some of the people that currently don't have amenities would have amenities. That was part of their justification for the fee. Again, I'm the messenger.
I have a lot of questions.
I have a lot of questions. I'm wondering how to go manage that and how to get that to the people to tell them how that we would negotiate that. Because if I join today and where there's 342 members and I'm number 443, I don't receive any amenity usage. However, if I stick around long enough and enough people below me get out or leave, I could drop into that amenity usage program somewhere down the road.
Correct.
This seems very convoluted to me.
Attrition membership availability. Okay.
Yeah, that seems a little convoluted. And secondly, I think we have 2 motions here that, and then if we're raising non-residents by $400, I guess I would ask the question, why? Why do we need to do that? Why did that come up at all? And then the separate issue of the cap. So I'm just a little confused.
Just for the record, on the agenda, the item was non-resident rates. There was no indication that there was going to be any motions about the cap or amenity access. So I don't think you can vote on those matters.
Yeah, I'm perplexed.
Okay,
So someone help me here.
why don't we just take the $400 proposed addition to the fees and vote on that?
Can you please form it in a motion so I can document it for the minutes?
Right.
All fees for non-members are raised by $400 a year.
Non-resident members.
Non-resident members is what it
Okay,
is.
that's the motion. I need a second. Cezanne, help me out. I can't see everyone.
I'll second.
Mulligan second.
Okay, John seconds it.
My understanding,
let's have
that the fee was supposed to be for 25 through 27, according to the motion that's printed in our packet. So does that mean that it's $400 for the next 2 years?
No, that's being
$400
eliminated.
per year
Nope.
for each of those 2 years.
No, that's being eliminated. That's not part of the motion.
It's $400 a
That's
year
just a
from
$400 raise.
It's
$400
just
a year for
$400
1
increase.
year.
All right, I have two questions. Number one, did Paul Barris recommend this?
He had no comment on it, and I don't believe he's for it, though.
Number two, why do we need to raise non-residents by $400?
Because we need the income. And they were trying to tie it to giving back more amenities, but that's not part of this anymore.
So does Paul Barris feel that we need more income?
I can speak from Paul's budget proposal for 2025. Paul has submitted a budget with the proposal to increase rates $100 across the board for a single membership, and I believe $200 per family membership for both residents and non-residents. And that fee structure in itself would cover his budget and bring in the requested income.
Sounds like we got a disconnect between Paul Barris' budget and what the tennis committee. There's 400 and 100 and 200. There's some kind of disconnect going on here.
Well, let's remind everyone, the tennis committee is advisory. The pickleball committee is advisory. Fitness is advisory. And, you know, I think the board's job is to sort through all of this and figure out what's best for the programs. So yeah, there's a disconnect there. So our job is to figure this out.
Paul, I think your comment, if we're going to do a survey of the tennis committees, would certainly not be the time to start making a bunch of changes and then do a survey right after it.
Well, that was
As you pointed out, it'd be better to do the survey and make sure we include some questions that would cover some of this.
Exactly. That was my point early on. And I still feel that way, that if we're going to do this, and we've hired Jerry Schoenfeld to help us do it. And in fact, as I talked to Steve Mara about all these maneuverings with tennis, I've asked him to join that committee too, to make sure that the tennis committee questions and directions end up on the survey, so that it is in fact an objective survey that asks all the questions that need to be asked.
Okay, Paul.
John.
I agree with that, but the survey should not have anything to do with raising rates. Okay, no one should have.
I agree with that. I agree.
Okay, well, yeah, I want to make sure. So I guess, you know, I personally thought $400 was too much. I thought it should have been in the $200 range and $150 for single, because that's pretty much almost the same increase for the family and for the single fam or the singles. So I guess if Steve wants to make a new motion to have $200 for family and $150 for single outside members, I think that would be my recommendation. And that seems to be in line with what Paul Barris came up with within his budget. And to your question and to the Sanders question, I guess, and everybody else, why are we doing this? First of all, if you look at all the other clubs around us, there's been studies done. We are one of the lowest there is. People know they're getting the best bang for the buck to be in our community. So we should get to where the market value is, and anything we could get, it helps us to reduce our fees. So we should not be too concerned with, are we raising rates too much? First of all, we're not, but anything we get helps lower our own fees. And once again, we are a community, not necessarily a tennis community.
Yeah, I have no argument with that. I don't think anyone does. I just think we need to get our act together between. Well, I think we're very close on this particular issue. So I think we need to bring it together, get it back to the tennis committee and Paul Barris, and give us a clear recommendation. But what we have before us now are two, and the board is trying to make up a third. So I think we need a single recommendation from the tennis committee and Paul Barris.
Paul, can I say something?
Sure.
The tennis committee's $400 was not intended to be a 1 year, it was intended to be a 3 year. So there'd be a $400 increase for 3 years and no increases for the second and third year. That was the proposal. I don't particularly think it's the way to go. I agree with John. We should just go with the 150 and the 200. And I would be willing to amend the motion that the increase be for $200 for a family membership and $150 for an individual.
All right, my next concern is, have we taken all this through the budget process? Does it need to go that way? I'm still scratching my head as to why we need the increases.
Paul, why wouldn't we increase? Our fees come up every year. Why wouldn't we increase the outside membership? And especially if they're lower compared to all the other clubs?
Well, my
That's the reason.
question is simple. Do we need to do that, or are we doing it because we're in a period of inflation and everyone's raising the prices, so why don't we? And that's one of the biggest causes of inflation, because you look at your neighbor, the prices are going up. So we said, well, let's jack our prices up. We'll get away with it and we'll blame it on inflation. So my question is basic. Do we need to do that? Why are we doing it? Simple question. Okay. And every part of a budget process should answer that question.
Okay. Well, two reasons why we're doing it. One, because we should get up to market value, number one. Okay. And number two is we need it to cover expenses that the budget doesn't cover. The budget doesn't cover reserves. Okay. This year, we're going to have probably $250,000 coming out of reserves. Where's that money going to come from? And we are not covering Mark West's time. We're not covering Cezanne's time, charging to the tennis community. So yes, we do need it to cover the expenses that they incur.
All right, you're introducing fully burdened accounting.
No, I'm just, you're asking a question about they should cover their expenses. They're not covering their expenses. This helps them cover their expenses, whether they get charged directly or indirectly through reserves or not.
I lost it for a while. Did y'all vote or not?
No.
Okay. I lost the Zoom and had to, so I didn't.
Okay, so let's take it back to the motion. I'm still a little confused, I guess, as to the tennis committee's recommendation, Paul Barris's recommendation, and what the board is trying to put together. It seems I would like one clear recommendation from the tennis committee and Paul Barris, and then let the board judge that. Right now, I'm confused. I don't know why I should vote for this.
I suggest we delay it till next meeting. Have them bring it back, have them look at it, put it in a clear fashion so we can understand it rather than jumbled, which seems this to be. So. And wait another month.
I make a motion, we table this motion to the next meeting.
What are we going to get out of it? What are we waiting for? We have a motion on board at 200 and 150, which is pretty much almost exactly what Paul Barris wanted. So why are we putting off for another month?
Because I think there's some confusion, number one, and number two, is it that urgent?
No.
So if we're confused, well, if we're confused, that's why. And it's not urgent. I think we have the benefit of getting a better motion on board.
Table it, please.
So we have a motion to table.
I made a motion to table. Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, Cezanne, I need a show of hands. All in favor of tabling this signify by raising your hand.
Sorry, I was muted. I see Sanders, Goodrow, Coyle, Snyder, Brownie. So those are in favor. The motion would pass.
That we're tabling. Okay. So we'll move this item. Steve, let's work on a unified proposal for the board at the next meeting.
Okay,
And let's insist on Paul Barris's recommendation and the tennis committee's recommendation. And let's also insist on a uniform recommendation. Okay?
yep, no problem.
Okay. Good. With that, let's go to project updates and the irrigation project. Mark, you want to? Oh, and let me just introduce.
I have a motion to make on the irrigation project. I would like to move that we approve the Stallman England contract for the irrigation project of $1,335,000. As I pointed out last meeting, I went through all the board meetings. We never approved that contract, so the board needs to just go through the formality of approving that contract.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay,
I'm
Rick,
sorry,
second.
I'm a slow typer because I wasn't prepared for such motion. Can you please repeat your motion?
The motion was to approve the Stallman England irrigation contract for the our irrigation project for $1,335,000.
Okay, I have that's the motion. I have a second. All in, well, any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your hand. And Cezanne, give us a roll call.
I don't see Mulligan's hand. Okay, all approved.
All approved. Okay. All right, Mark.
Doing it, we just never went through the formality of approving it.
Right. Okay, Mark.
Well, as I said in my general manager report, I think all of you have received Russ Geiger's report, which is currently on the website under irrigation project updates for everybody to look at, those of you that are going to be seeing this on YouTube. We also have on the agenda somewhere the Stallman proposal for the installation of the common area and sanctuary point that needs to be addressed as well. Other than that, the only thing that happened yesterday was they were doing a jet and bore across Sterling Oaks down towards Sanctuary, and the no cuts, which is you call to find out if there's anything under the ground, and the county was called as well. They didn't mark out where the force main for the sewer was, and when they did the jet and bore across the street, they hit that, and they were that's why there was like 5 or 6 of those big tanker trucks in there with backhoes and several trucks and a lot of county people, and we dug a big hole in the road and found the pipe, and they repaired the pipe, and we'll get that all fixed back up ASAP. But no fault of Stallman's because they were told there was nothing there. Either way, they're finishing up their jet and bores for that last part of the project. They have been doing a lot of sod work, and I think as Steve Mara commented at the beginning of the meeting that, you know, in Wildcat they've done a lot, and then some of the areas that were asked for in the condominium areas that have been brought to their attention, they've redone all of that as well. So we're looking forward to them finishing up their project. I expect them to be fully out of this community within the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to try to work on figuring out how to manage this baseline situation. I can go in and look at the baseline situation and see everything. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'll learn more, and hopefully we can get some more information about that, and from expert as well.
Okay, any questions of Mark?
Mark, on this new proposal for this sanctuary point, one that wasn't done of $12,825, does that put them in coordination I don't quite understand. You call it a sub.
Yes, rather than putting an actual wire down there, they're going to do it through a, if you want to call it like an air card, like if you have internet on your phone, there's going to be a station down there that stands alone, communicates with the pump station at Willow Bend seamlessly, and then that will manage those areas down in Sanctuary Point so that they can be a part of the overall baseline
Yeah,
system. So
That's
they'll
my
be,
question. It will be managed in the central thing. Okay.
yes,
So
exactly.
then I will make that motion that we approve the change order for the irrigation project to include that Sanctuary Point common area of $12,825.
Okay, I need a second. Cezanne, help me.
I don't see a second.
Second.
I got a second from Rick.
Okay, discussion.
Only point is, this is basically something was left out, needs to be done. We had like a $90,000 contingency. I don't think we've used any of it, have we, John?
Very minimal amount of it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is basically just a change order because we missed this in the project.
Right, I would agree with what you're saying, Brownie, and I would support that.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. And Cezanne, please do a roll call.
Mulligan is the only one that does not have his hand raised.
Okay,
So-
motion passes. Okay. Pickleball courts, John Coyle.
Okay.
Well,
I'm gonna-
it was already addressed in the general manager's report. There are a couple new items, but they won't come to a motion or anything from the board. Basically, Lucy had some constituents who were worried about sound mitigation because we're putting in 2 more courts than we've had. And in essence, we've already addressed probably the biggest sound mitigation issue that we could by reorienting the courts. When you put the courts down, 80% of the sound comes from the end zones of the courts, not the sides of the court from one end to the other. So 80% of the sound goes that way. So we're reorienting our courts so they all run north-south. That's probably the biggest mitigation factor we've already addressed. There are other things we can do, but the pickleball committee is currently working on looking at what other communities do, and they're researching our project. And Cezanne can probably fill you in on anything else I missed.
Okay, Cezanne, an update?
Yeah, sorry, I was just documenting that John Mulligan left the meeting. As I emailed you guys, but for the YouTube record, Mark and I met with Jeff from Fast Dry last Thursday at Sterling Oaks to finalize the scope and layout of the courts. As of now, Fast Dry will be at Sterling Oaks next week, the week of September 30th, for grading, preparing the base, and laying the asphalt of the courts. After that phase is complete, the asphalt will need to cure for 45 days. During the curing period, Fast Dry will be installing that concrete curb that was approved last meeting, the fences, the net post, and the new slab for the relocation of the shade structure. We still anticipate that the project will be complete by January, given that we do not have any major weather storms from now to then.
Good. All right,
I'm
we've
just
made,
curious, so what was the reason given for basically losing almost 4 weeks with not a single work done for almost 4 weeks? What was the reason they gave for that?
well, I'll give you one good
Well, there's-
reason. I had great difficulty signing a waiver. It gets a little complicated because they claimed they could not build those courts up to specification, and whereas they get a certificate and certification from the Pickleball Builders Group of Southwest Florida. And I would not sign that waiver, and it held things up a bit until we did some negotiations and got them to suggest that they could build the courts and avoid the concern that the waiver produced. So that took a little time.
So in summary, the courts 1 and 2 are on a different slope than the USPTA mandates now or recommends now. So the slope for courts 3 and 5 will be slightly different, which will in theory have a little, maybe like 1 to 2 inch pitch difference from where court 5 and court 1 meet, and also where the walkway in between courts 1 and 2 would meet court 4. So in essence, we were removing the walkway in between the courts, adding pavers. The fence will also hide the difference of slope. Those are the details that we needed to go over. I wouldn't say that withheld the project for 4 weeks. That's also mobilization of the crews being able to get here. So there was a little bit of each.
But we had that special meeting on the 3rd of
You did.
September, so we could move forward. There were 2 change orders that I thought addressed some of that stuff. So this even came up after that? This was some other? In other words, I thought it was handled at that meeting on September the 3rd.
No, what was handled at the meeting on the 3rd was the installation of the concrete curb and the change order for the fixing courts 1 and 2 and removing the vinyl fence.
So this came up after the September 3rd meeting.
Shortly after, yes, once they were at the extra feet on the ground and looked at the slopes of the courts. It's all handled now. They will be on property next week as long as this storm doesn't hinder anything. And we still have the anticipated date by January, fingers crossed that no storms come our way in October.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, where are we here? Community survey. Mark, do you have something on this, or is this mine? All right, I'm going to take it. The
Mark's unmuting himself.
Okay, this
Muted.
Sorry, October 3rd, there is another meeting of the Zoom meeting with Jerry Schoenfeld, which the participants that are currently on the project team, and I would imagine including Steve Mara, will be able to discuss the draft that has been put together by Jerry at that time. That's my understanding, Paul?
Of the tennis committee are aired in the survey itself, so we'll have more information at the next meeting, and maybe even a draft of the survey so the board can see it before it flies.
That was comment. Is there a way the board can see that before we send it out?
Yes, that's what I just said. We'll have a draft for the board, and we'll be sure that the board sees it, approves it before it flies. And one thing,
sorry, can you, who's on the committee for that?
it's myself, Steve Mara, Mark, Lanny Wheeler, and John Coyle.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, where was I going?
Activities report.
Oh, I know, the community survey. As if you have particular concerns you want voiced on the community survey, be sure to let one of us know of your concerns so that we can include it in the community survey. We got off to a shaky start because Schoenfeld thought we wanted an amenity use survey. And I really don't want an amenity use. I want to hear from the residents and our neighbors about how we are doing as a board. Is our communication better than it was? And so forth. So if you have questions and concerns like that that you want on the survey, make sure one of us gets your question. So with that, let's go to activities. Lynn.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is short and sweet. Future events. Due to a conflict in schedules, the Antique Roadshow will be rescheduled to a later date, preferably during season. Our concert series package dates are February 3rd, Collaboration Band, March 3rd, Titans of Rock, it's a Bon Jovi tribute band, and March 13th, the Dazzling Del Reys. They're an active show band, glitter and all. Discounted packages will go on sale in early December. November 8th will be Veterans Day pool party with music by Larry Roberts. All Sterling Oaks vets will receive the complimentary lunch. November 12th will be the welcome back party with music. November 18th, Medicare Mary will visit once again with all things old, new, or changed with Medicare. Tuesdays, chair yoga begins in October and meets weekly in the multi-purpose room. The walking group meets Wednesday, October 3rd at the club. The book club meets on October 8th at 1 o'clock in the clubhouse and via Zoom. The book is Remarkably Bright Futures by Shirley Van Pelt. Friday night dining will soon be adding entertainment in October. Curb service will continue. This concludes my report.
Okay, any questions of Linda? If not, let's move on to architectural standards. Rick, you're on.
Yep. The ASC committee met on September 11th. The first item, and an answer to your question about the survey, community survey, this is an expansion of the brief survey that we had late last year regarding metal roofs. We'd like to add this question. Would you like the option to install a roof with metal material? The metal style would match existing subdivisions material that is flat, barrel, or asphalt. We would like to get that tabulated by subdivision to see level of interest. There was interest on the first questionnaire that we had last year. The committee will have access to samples. If we get to that point, we'd have a display of samples on the metal roofs if we're going to go forward with that. The next question was exterior paint colors. As part of the survey emailed in November 2023, the ASC requested members to submit recommended paint colors to be added to the exterior paint palette book. The committee reviewed the paint colors submitted. Many submitted were close to existing paint colors. They would like to recommend the board to approve the following colors to be added to the exterior paint palette for base colors. These are SW7044 Amazing Gray, SW7631 City Loft, SW0019 Festoon Aqua.
I'm sorry, I lost Rick. Is it me or?
No, we
No.
all lost them.
We all
Okay.
lost him. Must have been a bad color.
I can continue. I think he left off on Festoon Aqua. The next one was a smoky azurite, another summer white, and alabaster.
Okay, gang, we're putting a lot of faith in our architectural standards committee. Since I can't see these colors, I have to approve them or not. So I'm going to trust Rick and his crew. How do you all feel?
I trust them.
I looked over the colors. They're not crazy. I did talk them out of some colors for you guys. If you trust me.
I'm colorblind. I have no input.
So John abstains. Okay, I need Rick back.
He is not on Zoom at the moment. I don't know how the power is at Sterling, so
Oh.
we are also down to 5 members.
Okay, I think we can take the vote while we still have power. So all in, Rick made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
John seconds. Okay. Unless there's any discussion, let's go to the vote. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand, and Cezanne, do a roll call, please.
Mr. Goodrow, your screen is frozen to me, so you're the only hand I can't see. If you could just verbally tell me.
I'm for it, for the
Okay,
motion.
so then the 5 present, all approve.
And why can't you see me?
Your screen has been frozen for quite some time.
Yeah, we can see you, but you're frozen in time.
Oh, do I look good?
You look better than usual.
Refresh your video.
I would say just leave it alone and we'll just get your verbal votes.
Okay, sounds good. Motion passes.
If I could just continue with Rick's report here, since he is not here. We have some outstanding violations that we would like, the ASC would like to recommend the board to approve the following: to fine each of the following outstanding violations $100 for non-compliance. Additionally, send the outstanding violations to the attorney to begin corrective action. I'm sorry, I just got an email from Rick that said he lost power and he doesn't have internet. So those 3 addresses with outstanding violations are 14512 Sterling Oaks Drive. They have cracks in the driveway. 1448 Serenity Circle with gutters, and 1532 Serenity Circle. The house needs to be painted.
Okay, I need a motion from someone and a second. So somebody step up. Okay,
Lucy.
John Coyle makes the motion. I need a second.
Sure, I'll make the motion that we approve Rick's suggestion of
I got it.
Outstanding violations.
outstanding
Okay,
violations.
I need a second.
Second.
Lucy seconds. Very good. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for all in favor, signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All approved.
All approved. Very good. Let's go to fitness, Lucy.
I'm gonna be short and sweet. So the fitness facility has met on a number of occasions. We're relying on the survey questions to be emailed or sent out to the community to further understand what the community wants in terms of fitness amenities. I will have a couple of questions I want to add, just came to me last week. But other than that, we're just on standby until we hear back from the community. Any questions?
Good. Get your new questions to Mark so we can include them on the 3rd.
Yes, I will today. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, any questions? If not, let's move to the old business, the pool chiller. Mark.
Well, as in my report, I told you, and that's something that it would be a motion to install a glacial pool chiller at the cost of $10,000 plus a $5,000 contingency for upgrades to the existing electrical system, piping, and the surrounding areas where the chiller would have to go in between the pump house and the clubhouse behind that fence there.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now, I drifted here for a second. Do we need a motion on this?
I do have a question first. I'm sorry, it just came to me. Mark, the idea of the pool chillers, where did this originate and from how many of our constituents?
It came from a few people at the pool who are here year round, who use the aerobics on a daily basis during the summer months. It's a group of, I would have to say, well, the people who ask for it are less than 10 in number, because that's about the amount of people that are in the pool during the months of July and August.
That answers my question.
Okay.
Paul,
Yes, go ahead, Lynn.
when we were at the ceremony where we cut the ribbon for the, when we were made a community blue zone, many of the people who are interested in health and fitness were at that. And I ran into quite a few there, and they were talking about the pool, how hot it was, how it actually made them ill, and they couldn't go in it. They couldn't. So tying into food and beverage a little bit here, if you could go up to the pool in the summer, and believe me, this was a hot summer, and they're going to get hotter. If you could go up to the pool and cool off a little bit in the pool, one day it was 96. A woman brought a thermometer with her. If you could go in and cool off, you might go under the cabana there where the fans are and have lunch and a cool drink, but nobody is going. And so what do? They go later in the afternoon, and that's usually the younger people that go later in the afternoon. They bring in what they want to bring because there's nothing open. And so that's who's using the pool. They are spending not a dime. It's not just that, it's the health. We're supposedly a blue zone. We put in a lift because one person needed a lift. I agree. If one person needs a lift, put in a lift. But if a handful of people, 10 or 12, who live here, go to water aerobics every day, plus the poor people trying to swim laps in that type of heat, I don't even think it's healthy. The body heat can go up internally to a point of danger. It can affect the heart, the kidneys, the brain. Heat is dangerous. And our pool should be for an amenity to feel better in. And all summer long, the same people have no use of the pool, really. Very, very seldom are there people there. And I think it's because of the heat. Now, if you're not here, and if you're somewhere where it's cool and your water's 78 degrees, no problem. But for the people who live here, and the pool is their main amenity, I think we have to look out for them too. That's my opinion.
Okay. So Mark, bring us back to this item. What are the next steps?
The next steps would be for you to approve the purchase of the glacial pool chiller, to also allow contingency of $5,000 to be able to install the chiller in the existing area.
And what's the total cost?
$15,000.
15,000.
It would be a capital expenditure.
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
We would need a formal motion in a second.
Yeah.
I can't
All
make the
right.
motion.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Is there a second? I can't see Cezanne.
No second is present. If there's no second, then the motion fails.
Okay, there appears not to be any support for this, so motion fails. Let's go on to new business, freezer cooler generator. Mark.
You all have the quotes from Naples Generator and from Mark's Electric. I asked that somebody make a motion to purchase the generator alone from Naples Generator so that we can get that installed ASAP.
Okay.
This
Need a
would be a
motion?
reserve. This is a
I
reserve.
need a
item,
motion.
And it is in the reserves for this year.
Okay, I need a motion from someone.
I'll
Speak
make
up.
a motion to purchase the generator as Mark described in his previous
Okay.
statement.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
John Coyle, second. Any further discussion on this item? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
I can't see Linda, but I'm assuming she would approve such. Yep.
Yep.
You name it, it's approved.
I'm with you.
Okay, date of the next board meeting, October 14th. What day of the week is that?
Are you doing 14th or 24th?
I would go 24 because you're
Yeah.
you'll probably be receiving the first iteration possibly of budget discussions because November, you're going to be voting on the budget. It's my understanding in November. So we probably want to have some look at that. And a little later on would also assist us in understanding what's going on with that survey.
Yes, all of that is good. And particularly with all the discussion about the monies and that we had today, it seemed to me to be a little premature. It jumped the surveys and it jumped the budget process. So you're right. That'll be the first look at the budget at that point, and we should be looking at new things then. So
Sorry, I just didn't know if I missed October 24th. Are we doing that at 1 o'clock? Are we doing 9:30?
Hold on a minute.
Well-
Hold on a minute. I lost my power and internet, just got back on. Did y'all vote on anything else? When I lost the internet, we were on the paint colors.
Yes, we are through the agenda, ending with the next board meeting date.
But that was all.
we-
Okay. Did anyone else lose the internet?
Yes, Rick also did.
Rick did. And in the interim, we appointed you ambassador to Key West. So we're sending you down there. Okay, so we're talking about the date of the next meeting, Brownie, 24th, which is a Thursday. The question is, do we go at 1:30 or do we go 9:30? What's the board's pleasure?
It'll be, everybody be down. It won't be Zoom. We'll actually have a meeting.
I won't be down and I
You don't
prefer
know.
1:30.
But I mean, most people will, okay.
I don't think,
Well, most
I don't
should
think
be
John will be down
by
either.
then. Yeah, well, maybe not. But I think most of us will be down by then. I know Ken Swallen will.
1:30 is good. I like 1:30.
Yeah, I like 1:30 better.
Okay,
I mean, if we're having.
the rest of you, okay with 1:30? Okay, 1:30 it is on the 24th. Okay, thank you all. Good meeting. It was cordial. And I thank you for your participation. Look forward to seeing you all on the 24th.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.